So Keir Starmer is set to be the UK's next Prime Minister after his Labour Party secured a historic victory in the elections. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's Conservatives registered their worst ever poll performance. Also, the Liberal Democrats have made huge gains and are third in terms of seats so far. And Nigel Farage has been elected to Parliament with his right-wing Reform UK party. A report.
UK on Friday woke up to a massive Labour victory. Newspapers splashed headlines like Labour landslide as the Keir Starmer-led party ended 14 years of Conservative rule. Addressing his supporters, Starmer, who is now set to become the Prime Minister, said that change begins now.
We said we would end the chaos, and we will. We said we would turn the page, and we have. Today we start the next chapter. Begin the work of change, the mission of national renewal, and start to rebuild our country.
Coming from a humble background, Starmer is relatively a new entrant to politics. It was an uphill battle for the lawyer-turned-politician. He took over the reins of Labour only 4 years ago when the party was going through a tough phase. Under him, Labour challenged the Conservatives over the falling living standards in the UK. The polls have come as a major blow to PM Rishi Sunak-led Conservatives, which has registered arguably its worst election performance. Conceding defeat, Sunak said that he had given his all.
I take responsibility for the loss. To the many good, hard-working Conservative candidates who lost tonight, despite their tireless efforts, their local records of delivery, and their dedication to their communities, I am sorry.
Meanwhile, world leaders have already started congratulating Starmer. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that he hoped that Starmer builds a progressive, fair future, while Australian PM Anthony Albanese called Labour's victory resounding. Other leaders who extended felicitations to Starmer include EU Council President Charles Michel and Israeli President Isaac Herzog. Bureau Report for DD India.
And DD India's Stuart Smith joins us live from London on the story. And I'm also joined by former senior Indian diplomat Prabhu Dayal in the studio. Welcome to both gentlemen. Stuart, to you first. The results have shown a historic verdict for the Labour. What leadership qualities and what vision will Keir Starmer bring to the Labour Party as Britain's next Prime Minister?
Keir Starmer is actually a late entrant to politics, only joining his political party at the age of 50. He's 61 now, and his main career experience comes from his role as a chief prosecutor in Britain. That's why he was knighted. That's why he's Sir Keir Starmer here. And largely his attitude to politics and the way he presents himself has been characterised as quite managerial, almost quite dull in a sense, which is something that has actually served him quite well during this campaign. A man who's trying to differentiate a Labour Party from a turbulent Conservative Party where there was a perception of a lack of discipline and a lack of seriousness in politics. For him to present himself in that way as a kind of dutiful public servant seems to have gone down quite well. Keir Starmer is somebody that says he wants to make him differentiate the Labour Party of new from the Labour Party of old, from the leadership of Jeremy Corbyn, who is far more polarising in his politics and far more polarising in his presentation. Keir Starmer, in comparison, appears quite neutral, and again, for this kind of campaign, that seems to have worked. Now, as to what his vision is for the country, he's directly addressed many of the issues that voters have complained about on the doorsteps, from the National Health Service being underfunded and under-resourced to the cost of living crisis causing problems, and he's also helped to some extent. He's promised to help address the immigration crisis in the UK, just differently to the way the Conservatives have done it. But I think what he really brings to this campaign that most voters were looking for during this vote is a sense of competence, stability and seriousness in politics, which with so many Conservative Prime Ministers over the last few years and a sense of instability is what was sorely looked for by the electorate.
Okay, Stuart, how far did Rishi Sunak's style of leadership contribute to the massive electoral defeat this time?
His personality has not been at the centre of this campaign. Largely with the attack lines from Labour and the comments from voters has been about the Conservatives in general. Now that includes David Cameron, Theresa May, Boris Johnson, Liz Truss and of course Rishi Sunak as well. The whole host of leaders, all with very different personalities and associated with very different successes and failures. So it's not him as such that has been at the centre of this debate. He brought something different than Boris Johnson did, for sure. Rishi Sunak was far more centre than Boris Johnson, was far less charismatic, but that also served him quite well. No, at the heart of this campaign, it's been less about Rishi Sunak and more about his party's record in power.
And Stuart, how do you see the future of the Reform UK party? Could it replace the Conservative Party as the principal opposition to Labour, as its leader Nigel Farage hopes?
Well, they've been doing so much better in this election than was expected. That will be a boost to Nigel Farage, and it will mean that he will be in the Parliament for the first time, along with a few other MPs as well. As to what that means, it's not expected that he will try to take over the Conservative Party. There's a possibility the Conservative Party will look to reform success and borrow some of their ideas and the way that they ran their election campaign, that's for sure. But Nigel Farage right now is the leader of his party. He has unparalleled privileges to lead that in the direction that he likes. The Conservative Party is a far more structured and traditional machine. He would not have the same level of freedom to initiate the same kind of policies and run the party the way he would like if he were, for example, to join the Conservatives. Every indication from Nigel Farage so far is that he would like to be Prime Minister, but he would like to be that at the next election with his own Reform UK party. And we'll have to see how that optimism goes down over the next few years.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. Stuart Smith joining us from London.